ਪਿਆਰੇ ਸਤਸੰਗ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Well, you can see my name is Bhai Singh Khalsa, so we're clear on that, right? No, nothing to worry about. So thank you so much for inviting us to come today to share. They asked me if we do something on my journey to Sikhi, and so we'll go through the slides. We just put that together. They asked me if I could put a little slideshow for you, and to give you a little bit on my journey and the history of how I came to the feet of the Guru. So let us go to the first slide then. So we'll just read it. Bhai Singh Khalsa was born in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He came to the feet of the Guru at the age of 24. Today, Bhai Sahib is 70 years old and has been at the feet of the Guru for 46 years, 2/3 of my life. Still Punjabi, both Thodi Punjabi, but terrible. So English is my best language. I'm lazy speaking Punjabi. So a lot of times the question is asked, well, how did you get there? So it's a long time, is it not? 47 years. Soon we'll celebrate my 50 years at the feet of the Guru. So how did I come to the feet of the Guru? That's a good question. So I grew up in the 1960s, time of, they say the hippies, those, and, against war and, wanting to find peace. And I actually started to meditate consciously at the age of 14. So that's what, 56 some odd years when I started consciously meditating, right? And there wasn't much in those days. It's not like today. You can't go. There's no internet. I only had the infinite, right? My Gmail was Godmail, right? So, but I started very young in meditation and wanting to find the spiritual root. So at the age of 10 years old, it came very clear to me that I wasn't being told the truth, that there was a whole other element of living and of life and in this world that was just not being taught to us. It was just not being taught. So that kind of began the journey of my wanting to understand what is the root of a human being, what is the soul of a human being. And when I was growing up, and again, this is the late 50s, early 1960s, even in school, for example, when you're writing, maybe when I was 9, 10 years old, you have to write stories. I would never write, and he did this, and he did that. I wrote he, she. So this was like in 1961, a long time ago, because my mind already was kind of set that why isn't there equality? And we could see in those years in 1962, 1963 on television in Canada, you could see what was happening in the United States and America, where there was segregation, where people of color couldn't be in with white people, you could say, right, and had to go on back of the bus and weren't allowed in restaurants. And I watched this on live on television, and I said, that's wrong. I said, aren't all people created equal? What does it matter what color a person is? Aren't all people created equal? So this was a very young age. I'm talking like 9 years old, 10 years old, 8 years old. And then 10 years old, I sort of came to the understanding that really what was being taught in schools and that wasn't teaching what is the full potential of a human being and how we're connected to not just what they're telling us, go to school, do this, read your books, get a job, well, about get married, and that's your life. I said, no, that's not for me. I wanted to understand. So as that journey progressed for me, and in those years, things were happening. It was the kind of the awakening years, and we as young people wanted to find freedom and all of that. So I went searching. I said, okay, and my mind said, somewhere on this planet, there's a true teaching. Somewhere there's a true teaching. And I wanted to search it. I even went to Jerusalem. I went to the birthplace Muslimism, birthplace Judaism, birthplace Christianity at 17 years old. And I walked the steps of Jesus. I walked the steps of Moses. I went to Dome on the Rock. I wanted to find, okay, what is reality of truth? And I went to different libraries. We had those back then, right? Yes, I couldn't go Google it, And I could find books on Hinduism. I could find books on Judaism. I could find books Christianity. I could find Muslimism. There was not a single book on Sikhism or the mentioning of the name Guru Nanak Dev Ji. There was nothing in these libraries. So I kept searching and searching. And also I was very conscious. I had long hair and a beard because I never wanted to cut my hair. From day one, if you talk to my mom, she said when they took me for my first haircut, 10 people had to hold me down because I couldn't understand why would you cut hair? I mean, I never would, at those days, I got 50 cents, I got 25 cents for a haircut, and the other 25 cents I could buy a bag of candies. I bought 50 cents worth of candies, and my parents dragged me back. You got to cut his hair. But I hated cutting my hair. So once I had the freedom of that, I let my hair and body, everything grow out. And I was also very conscious, I'll make it short, I won't talk too long. So I was also very conscious at that time, and this is the 1970s, about conscious eating. So I'm vegetarian. I became around 18 a vegetarian. I could never digest meat. And then I actually, as time went on, I started a natural foods company selling natural food, honey, and other things like that. The natural food stores were just starting to open in the city of Toronto. So I would go around to these stores. I'm getting to the point. I went around to these stores and I had a pickup truck and I was wearing my jacket and long hair and a beard, everything flowing out. One store was called Golden Temple Natural Products. It was one store in downtown Toronto called Golden Temple Natural Foods. So I went into the store. I never in my life seen a Sikh before, never, that I can remember. So I walked into that store and there were all these Singhs in Bana. I didn't know who they were, what they. I just went in. Do you want to buy some honey from me? I said. They said, okay. What's your price? I said, what do you pay? They said 50 cents for 1 pound of honey. I said, I'll give you 48 cents. So I sold. In 1 year, I sold about a quarter of 250,000 pounds of honey. So that took off that business. But I walked out of that store that day, first time I saw them, and something in my brain said, one day I'm going to look like these people. But I didn't know anything or not much about them. And I'll just go very quickly. So, anyways, what happened? I did get to know them, spent time with them. Took a little bit of time. We had a business relationship. And then finally, I wanted to know who they were. What do they represent? So they mentioned to me that they have like a gurdwara, a temple. I didn't know what gurdwara meant. They have like a temple. I said, what do you do there? They said, well, we pray and we chant, we do this and that. I said, well, that's good. I like to do those things. I said, when should I come? They said, well, we start at 4 a.m. I said, okay, Amrit Vela. I said, okay, I'll come. So I went that morning, first time. I'd never seen Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj before that time. So I came in the morning, they did some pat, they did some simran, and then they did prakash of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. And I saw they were walking, that's okay, I could matta take, that was fine. So as soon as I matta take at the feet of the Guru, I felt something in my heart. Something that just changed me. Maybe you could call energy, I don't know what you want to call it, but I could feel right at that moment that I was in the presence of something very special, very unique. I could feel it. And then I sat in the Sangat and the Ragijeta, started doing some shabds, and I was listening. And I listened to the sound. I didn't know the words. I didn't know meaning of the words, but I could hear the sound of the shabad. And the sounds of the shabad started to weave itself through my mind. And something again shifted very deeply in me. And right at that moment, exact time, and I was 24 years old, I said I knew I had found what I was searching for. Not even knowing what Guru Nanak Dev Ji knew nothing. I didn't know what, but I knew. I knew in my heart that I had found what I was searching. And that began that journey. And you know, in Sikhi, we don't convert people. We're not looking at, you want to follow, or we're grabbing followers. You have to grow into it. And it took me a couple of years to grow into it. It wasn't like, one day I'm this, and next day I'm that. No, it took some time to make that adjustment of what it means to wear the star, what it means to wear bana, what it means to, to learn. And then I studied Guru Nanak Dev Ji and started practicing Mulmantar, the Kongkar, Satanam Kartapurk, and started to understand. And then I saw that Guru Nanak, I knew that Guru Nanak Dev Ji was the teacher of the times, that he had come to this planet with a very special technology and teaching that never existed before. He came at the exact time of Kali Yuga, of this darker time, to spread a message to the world of Ekonkar, the oneness of all creation. And that, you say in English, resonates. That resonated inside of me. I said, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And that began the journey. And then for about 20 years, the first 20 years of MindSeek, you see 46 years, right? The first 20 years, I didn't want anyone to know my name. At that time, I was at one of the bigger gurdwaras, and I was learning and studying. And for about 20 years. Can you imagine a white kid from downtown Toronto, son of a baker, some Gora guy, right? For 20 years. 20 years. I mean, we ran businesses and we were, working with the children and doing this. But I said, I don't want anybody should know my name. I just want to do the Seva. And I did that for about 20 years. 20 years. And I didn't say much. And then after 20 years, they asked me, and we'll get to that in a moment on the slides. We can go to the next slide. So Bhai Sahib has devoted his life at the feet of the Guru. When he did his first Mata Take, he knew that this was the path he would follow for life. And since that day, he has never left the feet of the Guru. And that's very true. That's very true. And what do I say to all you kids? I say, if I can do it, can't you do it like 100 times better than me? You've got every resource. I had to learn it, understand it, study it, translate it, this and that. But I knew that what was contained in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj was a teaching for not just this time, but for future generations. And the value of that as a way of life, because I didn't come to the Guru, to Sikhi, that I wanted to change a religion. I didn't go, oh, let me say, I don't like the religion. You got a new one for me? Nay. I wasn't looking to change a religion. I am who I am. I come from my culture. I'm very much culturally still embedded in my culture. And that's how we grow. You have your culture, right? What I was looking for was a way of life, a way to live, a way to practice that would encompass all those things that I was looking for: devotion, meditation, shanti, the peace, and pyar, the love, the oneness of humanity, the acceptance of everyone. So when I read that, a couple of things really struck me that Guru Nanak Dev Ji that I first learned. What he said was to see the light that lives in the heart of every soul. So I said, okay, if I have to see another person, then I have to see through eyes of love. This is what Guru Nanak Dev Ji taught. See through eyes of love, that pyar. See through those eyes of love into the heart and the soul of everyone, every person. Even you say, oh, that's my enemy. See the heart of the soul, the jot that's in that. And the second thing that impacted me so greatly was when Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, if he could just become the slave of the slave of the slave of those who chant and sing the name of God, if I could just touch the dust of the feet of those slaves, of the slaves who sing the praises of God, I shall find the peace in my life and heart. And I said, my God, that just, they say just it opened my mind to such a degree that I said, if one can be that humble, that exact humbleness, I said, beyond what I would know in life to do. So those are just some small things, and I could tell you in 46 years many, many stories. And the other thing is I've survived the Punjabi community. How many white guys have survived the Punjabi community? Like 46 years I've been with you, and and we were, I ran a printing company many, many years, and I printed a lot of the calendars for the Gurdwaras in Ontario, Brampton and Dixie Road, all that. And, it took some time to gain respect, but one day the Gurdwara Dixie Road, Tara Khalsa called me. They said, will you print for us our calendars? It was by Sakya, I think 300th anniversary. So I said, okay, how many do you want and all the specifications? And they said, well, we want 20,000 and we want a price on 15,000 and a price on 20,000 calendars. So you know that if you buy 15,000, it's going to be one price. If you buy 20,000, quantity is going to be a bit lower price. So they said to me, well, we want 15,000, but we only want to pay, we want to pay the 20,000 price, the lower price. So I thought to myself, how do I get out of this one? Right? I could fight with, no, I'm not going to. And I said, nah, I said, okay. And all the, the presidents, all the committee members are sitting there. So I said, look, you see this Dari? They said, yeah. I said, I don't trim this. I don't trim that. They respected me from then on in, wrote the check, gave me my money, we did their calendars. So I said, now I'm starting to understand the psyche of it, a little bit. But that gained the respect. I could have fought with them. No, I'm not going to change, blah, blah, blah. If you don't want to do it, find somebody. Nay. I said, simply look at it, So those are some of the experiences. And we started in Toronto, I started in the Gurdwaras in the late 1970s, 1980. And actually, 5 of us, a punch of us, 5, started the first Nagar Kirtan in Toronto. Myself and 4 others, 5 of us started the first Nagar Kirtan. We didn't have support from one Gurdwara. Nobody would give us support. Today, of course, there's 70, 100,000 people come to the Nagar Kirtans, but that's a part of history. So I grew up, with the Sangat, right, in 46 years. So at that time in Toronto, even Ontario Khalsa Darbar, we were having langar in the farmhouse, and there was one room where the divan was, right? It was not what it is today, right? There were like maybe 5 major gurdwaras in the city in 1980, 85. Today, in Toronto area, Ontario, there's hundreds. We can go to the next slide. So this is a little picture here. Oh, we're losing me a little bit there to the side. So in 1983, at the age of 29, Bhai Sahib made his first visit to Darbar Sahib. His experience at Darbar Sahib changed his life. At Darbar Sahib, he had the great privilege to meet Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. So I spent a lot of time actually on the rooftops in Nanak Devas. I didn't know much. But if you look in the corner, you'll see me. It's not quite showing up on the screen, but can you see me in the corner there a little bit? So here I am here. That's me. So I was a young man of 29. And Darbar Sahib was an interesting journey for me. That's Yogi Harbhajan. I was with him at that time. We went. So when I went to Darbar Sahib that first time at the age of 29, I was on the pakama of Darbar Sahib, and I looked up and I said, God, because I talk a lot to God. I started to talk to God when I was about 6 years old. I said, God. God said, what do you want? I said, take me. I said, take me. You know what they say in Star Trek? Beam me up. Is that what they say? Beam me up. I said, God, take me. Take me. God said, why? I said, because if you could bring this kid from downtown Toronto, the son of a baker, right, and bring him here to one of the most holy, you say, in the world, then take me. I'm ready to go. I said, God, how do you top that one? You brought this kid from there and you raised him to come here. God said, no, you have to go back. I said, why? He said, because you have to go back and teach. I said, and what should I teach? I didn't get an answer, but I came back. Obviously, I'm here with you still. But my conscience was that, I was so grateful because you as Sangat and being with you these years have changed my life and have given me the honor to be with you and to serve you. Right? Me, I don't know from where. I don't ask. I'm not going to question. But the key is that I've never left the feet of the Guru. We've had sukh and dukh. I've had good times, bad times. I've had hard times, and I had to deal with a lot of things. But I stood in front of my Guru. I said, Guruji, no matter what you put to I shall never leave you. And I never have. I'm still here. We can go to the next slide, G. So Bhai Sahib, here I am here. You can see me there at, again, around 29 years old at Keshgar Sahib. I was a skinny guy at that time. Because when I came to you, I was pretty skinny guy. But then you gave me sabji, roti, dal, everything, and a samosa, I got big, But you can see I was pretty skinny, So there we are at Keshgar Sahib, you can see, and everything. So Bhai Sahib has been to India many times over the past 40 years and has visited many historic gurdwaras, spending a great deal of time with Sangat. So really, after about 1983, a little forward time, we started going pretty much every year. And a few years we didn't go. And then, so by the 1990s, 1920s, we were going every year to India, visiting in the pins and gurdwaras. Then because of COVID, we stopped. And then we just went back this November for Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Prakash Gurupurb, so we went back in November, had a beautiful experience. Okay, next. Okay, so this I'm going to just show you now, just a little movie. Just watch this.
Has you all in knots, and we may have the answer in Hari Nam Singh Khalsa. The 41-year-old yoga teacher is quite frankly an expert in the art of relaxation and a pioneer in something called aware living. Now, he joins us on the news at noon to give us a few tips. Hari Nam, welcome.
Good evening. Good evening.
What are we Canadians doing wrong? Why do we burn out? Why do we get so uptight?
Well, I look at it that our radiance, our awareness, how projective we are, the ability that we have to have a shining face and a happy life is based on 5 basic elements. The food that you eat, your breathing, your thinking, how physically fit you are, and the environments in which you live. So if these things are out of balance, if you're not eating properly, if your breath is out of whack, if you can't think straight, if you're totally a mess physically, and you're not in a healthy environment, then you tend to be very stressful in your life.
What is aware living?
Aware living is being very conscious of how you live your day-to-day life, both within yourself, how you take care of yourself, how you look after this body. If it was a high-profile performance car, you'd be taking care of it. You take it in for regular checks, you change its oil. Well, this is the only body we have, and we can't trade it in.
So how do we Canadians stack up, would you say, in taking care of those 5 key areas?
Well, I'd say we're probably pretty stressed out.
A pretty stressed out group, okay. Now, I take a little bit of yoga,
Yes.
so breathing I know is very
Yes.
important. Prana?
Yes,
Correct.
prana.
We don't breathe enough, do we?
No, our breathing is very shallow. So what I want to show you today is just how to increase your breath, how to bring more depth into your breath, and in that process, relax a little bit.
And Dan's joining us
Dan will
too.
join us today.
It's hard enough for you to bend down there, Dan.
There we go.
Okay.
This is much better. Didn't get a chance to change my shirt, but that's okay.
Well,
do it
let's
without it.
begin. I want to show you something very simple. Just bring your arms up to 60 degrees like this. A very simple exercise. Now, in here, we're working to relax our shoulders, to relax our chest, and just to bring some energy into this electromagnetic field or aura that we have. So I want you to just put your hands up. Now, let your eyes close. I know you're on camera, but close your eyes down. And just hold this and breathe very deeply. And as you do this, just imagine yourself bringing a lot of light, a lot of light, a lot of light into you. And just let yourself relax with it. And breathe long and deep. As you inhale this breath in, feel yourself becoming expanded, feel yourself becoming aware. And as you exhale and let your breath go, I want you to just become relaxed. Let yourself relax. Let it go, let it go, let it go. And inhale again. Now hold this breath in, bring your hands together over your head, stretch up, stretch, stretch. And as you exhale now, slowly bring your arms down. So this is very simple and very easy, but it gives you that sense of physical relaxation. Bring your hands onto your knees. Inhale, bring your shoulders up. Exhale them down. Ah, and let it go. And inhale. Now hold it. Squeeze. Hug your ears. They may have not been hugged for a while. Hug your ears. And ah.
Now, what does this
let it
actually
go.
do, Harinam, when we breathe like this? It feels good, and
Makes
I
me
think
dizzy.
I think just the idea of pausing
Yes.
itself has got to cause some relaxation. But what is
Yes.
this doing to us other than that?
It's just allowing your whole nervous system to calm down. Your lungs are filled, they get expanded, the blood starts to move, you start uplifting yourself, raising yourself, and then we slowly let it go. And as we let it go, just allowing the muscles to relax, the nerves to become calmer. And if you practice this, even if you just sit very still, you've seen the meditative kind of pose, and just do a simple 4-1 breathing like this.
You know what everyone's going to say is time. We don't have time in this society of ours where we have, both parents working and whatnot, crazy hours, the rat race we get caught up in. But
You know, when I teach in businesses and to private individuals and in my classes, I teach that within 10 to 15 minutes of doing some of these exercises and some of these simple breathing techniques, it'll have lasting benefits for your whole day. And we're just doing a few things because there's so much that we can do with our bodies, simply either sitting like this, standing up, very, very simple techniques. And that's the key thing to what I teach through yoga, through stress management, in corporations and organizations, to individuals, is very simple techniques, very easily practiced. Because look at yoga, 4,000 years, never a dissatisfied customer. So
There's a lot of things you can do at work just sitting around, though.
very much so. You know, even moving your head from side to side, shoulder shrugs, bringing your hands up onto your shoulders, twisting side to side with hands on the knees, just twisting. And then a lot of the deep breathing, inhaling and exhaling. So these are very simple techniques, very easily to do, don't take a lot of your time, and will give you tremendous benefit, tremendous results, and a fabulous sense of relaxation.
Harinam Singh Khalsa, thank you for those tips, and breathe.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Have
Love
a
you
great
very much.
holiday.
I like this position. This is good. I may not ever get out of it, but this is good.
I've always been very health conscious, so exercising is very important. In that video, what I've taught for many, many years was those 5 principles of what we call the radiance formula, which I developed about the food that you eat, how you breathe, how you think, the environments you're in, and how physical fit you are. That these elements to bring in balance. And that's what I learned, was that we had to understand how to balance our bodies, how to balance our mind, and how to balance our spiritual practice. And to me, that's what gurus have given to us to understand that. So Bhai Sahib studied Gurbani, Kirtan, playing many instruments, including Vajra, tabla, and guitar. Here is Bhai Sahib at 34 years of age. So you see, kind of a young guy, still black dark, right? So just sharing a little bit of that journey to see different things that I've done over the years as part of Sikhi, as part of my growth, as part of my development. And we can go to the next slide. Bhai Sahib has spent many years sharing his passion and devotion to Sikh, educating our children and young adults. And that's something that was very important to me. It was about how we are able to educate and give. What I wanted to just share was my enthusiasm, because in all the years that I've been with you, I've never lost my inspiration or my enthusiasm to this day. And for those who may know me, I just never lose. I am so privileged and so excited every day to rise in the morning on Vela. We begin at 4 a.m. and start doing some exercise, and then Simran, and then Panjbari and everything. And then we go forward, Ardas, everything. And that's been my practice for 40 years. So I've always, starting with Ishnan with a very cold shower, right? And that's been my practice every day. We're traveling and we're on the planes and this and that. It gets a little interrupted, but basically never stop rising in Amrit Veli. That's always been my passion and is my passion to this day. And because of what it brings to us, they know that sometimes the younger people say, well, why should we wake up that early? Well, we know in Japji Sahib that Guru Nanak Devji says, Amrita Vela Sachinavadi I Vichar economy of a couple of Nadri Mokdua. He says, rise when the sun rises, rise in that time. Because the sun is rising at that 60-degree angle. When we do our Path and Simran at that time, we rise with the sun. It raises us. It gives us the spirit. So sometimes the kids ask me, I say, well, look at you, there's 24 hours in a day. Is that not correct? So I say, Guru's saying give 10%, 2.4 hours in the morning as the sun is rising. If you give that 10%, then Guru says that other 90% is going to be looked after for you. You don't have to fight it. So what I learned to understand was that, and I'm still learning, I will learn our whole lives, is how to truly trust Guru's teachings. That when Guruji says that has to be followed. And we go to move to the next one. So there's just a little quote that I give. This is with some of the children. Don't look at what is wrong with you. See your beauty, your grace, your love, your strength, your exactness, your light, your innocence, your stillness, your devotion, dedication, purity, and your love of God. These will carry you. So that to me is the essence of what Guru has taught to us. Don't look at what's wrong with you. See your beauty and your grace. See what's right with you. And I say that to our young people. I say, don't see what's wrong. We say there's a few very basic English principles. We say, don't say anything bad about yourself and never say anything bad against anybody else. That's part of seeing the light that lives in the heart of every soul. One day I was speaking at a multi-faith conference, and a young girl came up to me, maybe your age, came up to me, and she tugged on my coat. She said, Babaji. I said, what? She said, can I see God? I said, yes, you can see God. She said, how? I said, did you look in the mirror this morning? She said, yeah. Then I said, you saw God. And she looked up to me and said, Babaji. I said, what? She said, God is very beautiful. And that changed me. That was something that impacted me. That little girl, maybe, 6, 7 years old, 5 years old, whatever age she was, but she had it already in her mind. And she wanted to know and to say, yeah, God is beautiful. That's the reflection. Because what do we usually do? We wake up in the morning, we look in the mirror. I don't like this. I don't like the turban is this up. Having a bad turban, a day, what have you, right? But did you look in that mirror and say, God, Guruji, thank you so much for bringing this breath into my life? Do we honor ourselves? And that to me is what Guruji has taught to us, is to see the beauty, your grace, your love, your strength, your exactness, your light, your innocence, your stillness, your devotion, dedication. All these aspects is what Guru, these are the qualities that I learned at the feet of the Guru. Do I embody it all the time? I can't say I'm perfect. We're not robots, right? We're living people. We have this mind of ours. But these are the principles that set my, you asked for my journey in Sikhi, that set my understandings of why I'm walking on this path. Can I say I do it 100%? No, I can't lie to that. But those teachings are there, and that's what impacted me and why I've been on this path for so many years. We can go to the next one. I was just by side with Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. We had an interesting time with him that day. It was funny because lots and lots of people were coming up to see me, and Mr. Trudeau was like, "Why are they coming to see you? I'm the Prime Minister." I thought that was very funny. They were coming, "Oh, buy something, buy some," and he was standing there. But anyways, we can move on. Just was just throwing that in, just name dropping, you know. So Bhai produced, so this is what we did. Now, remember I said for 20 years, I didn't want to say a word to anybody. I just don't know my name, don't know who I am. The 20 years after that, you can't keep me quiet, right? So Bhai produced Insight into Sikhism, a national TV show in Canada for 18 years, broadcasting every week in Canada and throughout the world. This was the first TV show in the world to teach Sikhism in English. So before that, there was never, now there's basics of Sikhi, everything and all of that. But before that time, nobody was teaching about Sikhi to the English people. And also our Sangats, who many of our young people weren't speaking Punjabi or didn't understand what was Sikhi, and to understand it in order to embrace it. So we reached in those 18 years, I started just around the age of 43, 44, went for 18 years every single week producing this TV show. And we financed it ourselves through our businesses, because in our businesses that we were running, I had the printing company over 30 years. We gave all our profits to the Sangat. I didn't keep any money for me. We just made sure family was looked after. But beyond that, everything went to Sangat. We opened a school, Khalsa Academy. We had the Darbar. We were producing the show. We were teaching, but it was all financed through the businesses and through those profits. So we didn't take any money from Gurdwaras or anything at all. And we did that for 18 years. And that was really a turning point in my life. So I was saying 20 years, I didn't say anything. The next 20 years, you can't keep me quiet. That was a turning point, because when there was someone in the Gurdwara actually that came to me and said, "We have this TV time, would you like to become the host?" And I thought to myself, I said, "Okay, Guruji, this is a calling you're bringing to me now." And I knew in my mind that once I went on national television, that I would no longer be a private person, that my life would be public. And I had to come to that. I said, "Okay, Guruji, if you're directing me to do this, I know I will never again have a personal life." And Guru said, "You have to serve Sangat. What are you even asking? What's personal? What's private? What's public?" So that we reached, I say, for 18 years, we produced this TV show and continued to do videos and sharing hundreds and hundreds of hours of production and producing these shows. And so it was a very great honor. And that's how that changed my life, because that's how you could say the world got to know me. Certainly throughout Canada, because we were on national television and teaching. And the most beautiful thing about doing that was not only reaching our Sangats, but also reaching English people. And we would have so many messages to us and letters to us saying things like, "We never knew that Sikhism was so beautiful." Because what there was being portrayed was how, Sikhs were fighting each other and their kirpans were out, right? And the media was portraying us as violent people. And that's what most English people, maybe even sometimes today the same, because the media portrays us that way. And they would say to us, "It's the first time we've ever really understood Sikhism." One lady sent a letter in, and she was saying that her backyard is in the backyard of a Gurdwara, she's of a temple. And she asked the question, she said, "Can I go in?" She didn't know. She thought maybe it was just private, and if you're not a Sikh, you can't go into a Gurdwara. And we wrote back, no, of course go. You should be welcomed with open arms. So really, really opened up a lot of doors for a lot of English people to understand that what is the history of Sikhi? What is the sacrifices? Because in my life at the age of 20, before I became Sikh or even found this path, I made a commitment. And the commitment I made was that this was 20 years old. The commitment I made was that I would work for peace on this planet for the rest of my life. And at that time, I said, I don't know what my name's going to be. I don't know what kind of clothes I'm going to wear. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what languages I'm going to speak. But I said, this is my commitment. And in those from now till then was 50 years, I've never left that commitment. And my journey and my pathway in Sikhi has been a continuation of that desire to bring peace to this world. And when I found these teachings, I knew that the teachings of our gurus and embodied in Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj were teachings of peace. And that's what I wanted to promote. And then I said to myself, I said, well, why doesn't the world know about us? Why doesn't the world know that the reality of what the beauty of what our gurus and the sacrifices of Guru Arjan Dev Ji's Prakash and Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji and Vaisakhi now is we have so much richness in what's been given, yet the world doesn't know about the sacrifices, unique sacrifices. And on Sunday, when we do Katta here on Sunday, I'll talk a little bit more about the significance. And let's go forward because time is moving through. Bhai Sahib, this is just some pictures of me visiting Darbar Sahib, just meditating. So every morning we go at 3 o'clock in the morning and then just sit and they are just again some pictures. We can move forward. Bhai Sahib's love for Sangat, of course. You are my love. Without you, I'm nothing, you know. So we travel. This is in India where we were visiting and other Sangats that we visit. And we go all over the world just to spread the PR, spread the love, be visible, be known, be approachable. We take sometimes you can see a lot of sort of English people there, European people. So we also, when we go to India, we do take yatras and we do take many English people that want to come and experience, and we travel all over and to give them that experience as well. So it's a great privilege. Okay, we can continue. Bhai Sahib, so we're coming to the end now. Today, Bhai Sahib travels the world sharing the message of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the history of our gurus, and the extraordinary teachings within the Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib. And that's really my mission. I'm with you today. I'll see you again on Sunday coming. Monday night we have in Brixton, we have a workshop where I'll be a little more towards, it's not in the Gurdwara, it's a little more towards the spiritual side, but it's teaching our teachings, which is the only thing I teach. But somehow Guru touched me and also gave me some understanding of how I could explain the technology and the science of Sikhi, of Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, the science of it, the workings of it, how Bani works, how the sound vibration, the Shabad Guru, all of that works and explain it. And I had to study. I still study Guru Bani. I still learn it and studying it and learning from it, always shall, and probably till the time I leave this physical body and then probably beyond that again. But because to me, there's such a beautiful science and understanding and a way of teaching, and that gives you a clarity of mind and a relaxation inside, because we get very tense. We have too much sugar, too much caffeine, right? Overeating. And we don't exercise. We have to exercise. And yoga is not a part of Sikhi. I'm a yoga master. It's true. Yoga is a good system of exercise, but I don't care. You want to do yoga, you want to do karate, you want to do other forms, but do something, There's lots of techniques out there. They're physical, but yoga is a particular science, again, that I learned and studied I started at the age of 22, again, before I became Sikh, because I was a martial artist before then. I was in Kung Fu and I studied with Chinese masters. But I wanted something that was a little more stretching in that. And that's when I transited into the yoga philosophies and then started Kundalini Yoga at the age of 24 and became a master teacher. Because again, I've always been a very health conscious. Do I look 70? You're supposed to say no. Thank you. Thank you. Just testing. So this is my journey. We can go to the next slide. This is our last slide. Please follow Bhai Sab on social media. I got to do the advert, right? You can view Bhai Sab's videos, lectures, current schedules. You can DM social media, email, info@sikhism.com, YouTube, all that stuff. So people, we are on constant communication around the world. So um, we serve a lot, help a lot. I try to do the best I can. Many families as you know, in BC and where I'm now residing. I lived in Toronto and grew in Toronto and started this journey in Toronto recently. I've moved to Surrey, BC. The weather's better. I'm getting old. Not so I can't take the snow anymore in Toronto's too cold, and a beautiful sunget there. And then we're here for this month, and we'll go back. And then I do go into Ontario for programs. Then we're looking at coming back here in maybe October, then to Pakistan, and then back into India. So we just kind of keep moving around to continue to spread the message. So Satsangaji, I know it's a little quick. We put together this presentation just this morning, actually, to get it done. And I just want to say from my heart to you is that without you, I wouldn't be here today. And that's, I get emotional. That's my deep love of Sangat. And that's brought me on this journey. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We can open to some questions for a few minutes, and then we can have langar or whatever. I don't know. We have samosas, Hanji. We can do some question and answer. Yeah, Hanji.
Sundarji, when did you take Amrit and how was that experience for you?
I took Amrit I think it was maybe just after I came back from India. So maybe 1983, 1984. So it was a long time ago. My experience of Amrit Chak was that I had, again, it's a matter of I have to make that commitment. But what, again, in my mind, said that if I was doing Amrit, becoming Amrit Chak and doing Amrit Sanchar, that my life would no longer be my life, that my life was dedicated at the feet of the Guru. And if the Guru asked for my head, I would give my head. Because Khalsa has no gender, Khalsa has no geography. You know, I tell the story, I've been telling it a lot. Last week, there was a 12-year-old boy, young adult, 12-year-old, who was traveling with us for a little bit of time, visiting. And we were sitting in the langar hall, and we were eating langar, and there was two young girls like you girls in front, and they were looking at me. So I turned to this young boy, this young fellow, and I said, I think they're looking at me because I'm Gora. And you know what? He looked at me and he said, you're not Gora. I said, no. He said, you're Khalsa. So that's how these young ones teach me, because he's right. You know, why should I focus on Gora? But actually, they made a new category for me now. After 46 years, I'm not quite Gora. I'm not quite Punjabi. I'm kind of in the middle. Gora Punjabi, you know? Hanji. But that was the life-changing for me, Hanji. Well, I've been privileged to be with and meet a lot of, you could say, Babas and very spiritual people. To me, Sanchana Singh Banurwali was, I didn't really know much. This was the year before the 1984. So they were on the rooftops of Guru Nanak Nivas, and the soldiers were there with him. And I didn't know really too much, but every day, I sat with him every day for about 2 weeks. I'd spend at least an hour a day, and I didn't speak any Punjabi. He didn't speak any English, but I sat and just, you could just say that I could see his charisma, his beauty, he impressed me. And I didn't know much of what's happening. I knew that there was negotiations going on to try to avoid what happened. And unfortunately, there couldn't be negotiation. But, you know, so somehow in my journey along, Guruji has put me with a lot of very influential or very spiritual people. So, I still meet everyone. We've met Dalai Lama. I've sat with Dalai Lama. You know, we've sat with a lot of the Babas and the Sants throughout. So it's we've met so much, and that's helped me a lot and helped me in my growth to meet that devoted, you know, and loved people. Anji, Anji. Well, you know, I became to the feet of the Guru before I met him. So some people say, oh, you're one of those followers of Yogi Bhajan. I said, no, I'm not. I came to the feet of the Guru before I met him. And my devotion has always been at the feet of the Guru. And I make that distinction. But I did meet him and developed, he became like a father to me. In a different, I don't know, he's got those students, what have you, but he became to me like a father. He encouraged me to stay with the Sikh Sangat in the Punjabi Sangat. He encouraged me and helped me and raised me and looked after me and took me on like a son. And what he taught me about living in life, a great impact. But the devotion has always been at the feet of the Guru. We can find many great teachers that will come into our lives, but we are only at the feet of the Guru. So to be with him, I mean, there's lots of stories, you know, being traveling with him and being part. But the reality is that my devotion is always at the feet of the Guru. But a very, very impactful person, definitely, for sure. Well, it took a little time, but you know, I was always an independent person, right? And always carved my own path. After some time, certainly my mother and my father saw that. At first, they thought, did he join some cult? You know, putting this turban on, you know, something. But then they saw, as time went on, they saw that I had become a very responsible person. They were very happy about that. You know, my mother used to watch, we used to play on Saturday nights in Canada from 9 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., the TV show. And right at 9:31, my mom would call and say, what's the matter? You look tired tonight. I don't like what you said about, you know, she was like my biggest critic, you know. And she said, when am I going to see you? I said, Mom, you can see me on TV. Oh, that got me in trouble. What? Yeah. So she was, you know, she learned to say to respect, and she would watch a TV show and respond back. My father always kept clippings because certainly when I was younger, there was a lot of newspaper articles about me and magazine articles about my growth and spiritual and how I changed. So he always kept those clippings in his pocket, and he was very, very proud, you know, of who I became. My grandmother, my granny, she was a little bit. I said, "Why do you wear that sock on your head?" You know, she couldn't quite understand, you know, what I'd done, but she learned to live with it. So, at time went on, and then I raised a family, and then they saw that, you know, yeah, he's pretty good. You know, he's probably better than he's ever been. You know, so that was very important to me that I had their support, and and yeah. Great. You know, not that any of them you could say became Sikhs, but the impact has been great and was great because they could sense that there was something deep inside of me. Anji. The next step is your step. You have to make that decision, Ji. Do you trust in Guruji? Do you trust the Hukamnama? Do you trust what Guruji is guiding us? Or are you, yeah, trust Guru's words, live Guru's teachings, develop that practice. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj gave the Harimat Mariyadi, gave the way to live and how to proceed in life. And we said, well, who's your best, greatest teacher that you've ever had? I said, Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib teaches me everything I know. But be together with Sangat, practice, don't let the mind interfere with it, right? Do I want to wake up in Amrit Vela? Who wants to wake up? I've got a comforter over me. I'm nice and cozy, nice and warm. Who wants to get out of bed? But I get out of bed. I say, Neji, you can't stay and get yourself out. No matter how tired I am, I only sleep about 3 hours anyways. And I sleep in the car all the time. Jaggeet knows, and that's when he sleeps from here to there, you know. So just trust. Have trust in yourself. This mind of ours interferes. That's the duality that Guruji talks about, the duality of the mind. Because remember that this mind, and Guruji says, mind can become your best friend, mind can become your worst enemy. And when the mind starts getting negative, Hanji, you know, when you get a very negative mind and you see everything negatively, that affects the quality of life. And it leads to depression. And I know there's a lot of depression in our Sangats, right? I have a simple formula. Don't be depressed in life, become impressed with life. And don't be frustrated, become first rated, right? I just twist it a little bit. Because every emotion you have is an ego in motion, right? That's your ego, your mind that's interfering. And I know I've been with you a long time. I know, Punjabi, you're very emotional, very emotional. What do? Take all that emotion and turn it to devotion. And what is devotion? Devotion is a divine ocean. That's a Sukh Sagarji. That's that peaceful ocean. See that in your consciousness. What Guruji does is change the consciousness, the mind, the frequency of your psyche shifts through Gurbani. That's Shabad Guru. That's the power of the technology. But one thing has to be done. You have to live it. You can't just read it. You have to live it. That's when I said I didn't join a new religion. I wanted to find a way of life. And that's what Guruji taught me. I'm still working at it. But I have to learn to live this life and trust it within myself. Because Gurbani is just not something outside of me. Gurbani is inside of you. The vibration of the Nam, Namadhyaya, that vibration of Nam lives inside of you. This is what Guru Nanak Dev Ji said. But we see it outside of ourselves. We see it's outside. So we don't feel the connection deeper within ourselves. And what I had to learn was that I had to make a connection at the feet of the Guru. And that's what I want our young people, we have to give them that connection. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj gave Guru Gadi of Sri Guru Granth Sahib. So Guru Granth Sahib Ji would be our living teacher for life. And he said that in every ang you shall find me. And that every individual has their own relationship at the feet of Guru. I explained for me how I feel about it. But each one of us has our own feeling. Well, this is how I practice. This is, and that's what Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj said. He said, you'll have your own independent, English we say sovereign, your own sovereign relationship to the Guru. But if each of us come together as Sangat, it magnifies that experience. That's the power of Sangat. Starts with the individual, merges in the group we call Sangat, and through Sangat, Guruji lifts us to experience beyond self. Atma, we have Atma soul. As we start working, that Atma becomes Mahatma, becomes great within us. That experience leads us to Mahatma, the infinite soul. That life is not limited. What I learned more than anything was don't limit yourself in life. And Guruji teaches the expansion of life. And the highest way of life that one can live is my experience personal. One day I wanted to start another company, and my lawyer said, do you want to make that company limited? You know, you make a limited company. I said, no, I want my company unlimited. You know, why should I make a limited company? You know, I said, make mine unlimited. Why am I going to put a stop on it? You know, simple things like that. You know, you turn it a little bit. And we're very powerful people. You know, I've been in business, was in business many years doing businesses. And I worked, and our business was in the corporate field. It wasn't just a walk-in store, but my business was corporate, and I had many large corporate clients. So one day I was sitting with one of the CEOs of a very large corporation, and he said, you know, we know you, we like you a lot, but you're never going to get me to, you know, do this meditation, this kind of stuff. I said, I'm not here to teach you meditation. We have a business relationship. But that day I thought to myself, okay, I left my bag in his office. And I walked out of his office. So he called him. He said, Hari Nam. I didn't answer him. He said, Hari Nam. I still didn't answer him. He said, Hari Nam, Hari Nam, Hari Nam. And I turned around and said, I told you one day I'll get you chanting. You know, you have to use your, you know, from that day on, he became my best student. You know? He said, wow, I said, it's a vibration of sound. He said, wow, why didn't you tell me? You know? And we do business with people, and I get major contracts for our businesses because it all supported the Dharma. And I would sit with, again, you know, the decision maker, and I'd say, well, why did you choose our company? And they would say, well, not only was your presentation, you know, professional, not only were your prices competitive, but they would always say to me, and I worked in Bana. I didn't wear suit ties. I wore my Bana. I said, this is me. But oftentimes they would say, if there was somebody we knew we could trust, it was you. And that won me more, Bana won me more contracts, you know? So, no, I better wear suit and tie, otherwise, I said, forget it, this is me. They don't want me, I'll go someplace else. But so many times that was the response. If there was someone we knew we could trust and was going to be reliable, it was you. And that's the impact. And that's what I want our young people. It's what I want you to remember and understand. Don't be afraid. I took it on. I said, that's me. And I was a funny person, you know, when I was just starting into Sikhi, somebody once said to me, they said, well, if a person one time hears Satnam Vaheguru, it could change their life. And it stuck inside of me that if a person one time heard Satnam Vaheguru, so in those years, I was young and I worked, and every day I would take like the underground, and I would stand by the door so that everybody that walked in, I go, Satnam Vaheguru, Satnam Vaheguru, Satnam. I said, well, why should I not give them the chance? You know, I mean, I was a little foolish, young, right? But it stuck in my mind. I said, one person here. So I said, why shouldn't they have that opportunity? And who knows how that's going to change? And the impact that we have. A few weeks ago, we finished at the Gurdwara. We did Prakash, everything. It was early morning. I said, okay, there's this one little bakery sells a vegan muffin, you know. Right? So I said, I feel like a vegan muffin. So after we did Prakash, everything, I got into my car and I drove to this little cafe that had vegan muffin. It was $4, or maybe 2.5 pounds, something. So I was getting out of my car and to walk into this little shop. And there was a woman who had parked her car. And so I said, you know what, I'm not in any rush. So I held the door for her so she could walk in, right? I just stood there, I just opened the door. And we walked to the counter and I said, no, you go ahead. I'm just getting a muffin. She said, no, you go ahead. So I said, I just want a vegan muffin. So the person at the counter gave the vegan muffin. And this lady, a Canadian woman, said, no, I'm paying for it. I said, no, you don't have to pay for my muffin. He said, no, this is my privilege to serve you. She didn't know me from anybody. I may never see her again in this life. But just that kindness that morning, and I wasn't, I'm going to be kind. I just naturally do that. But just holding that door, representing who we are, impacted her. Maybe she looked in my eyes. I don't know. I wasn't thinking like that. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful, understanding that she naturally had, and she'll never forget, and I'll never forget. And I don't know what Guruji will bless her. I said, have a blessed life. Don't worry about anything. I could see she was a little bit uptight, but she had that in her heart. So we never know the impact that we have because it's by doing Simran and Pot, it changes our, we say in English, electromagnetic field. It raises us. We're always walking in Guru's grace, Guru's kirpa. So miracles happen. One day somebody said to me, do you believe in miracles? I said, nay. I said, I rely on them, because I never know what's going to happen. Anji? So I could tell you a million stories, but we're running late. Any other questions before we finish this evening, Anji? I think today you can find on the internet so much translation. My suggestion is learn Gurumukhi. I learned it, and if I can learn it, every excuse is a self-abuse, right? Just, I had to study it and learn it. I'm not 100% pronunciation perfect, but there's a difference when you read English, you want to understand, and you can go online. I think there's tons of, translations, but take the time, study with somebody, come to the Gurdwara, to a class, Santia class, whatever, and learn the Gurmukhi. Because when you start pronouncing the Gurmukhi and reading Pat and Gurmukhi, that vibration of that sound of Gurmukhi, which contains the essence of the nod, the science of the sound of the Shabad Guru, has a different effect. So read English because you're reading is good, but do your best to learn the Punjabi, to learn the Gurmukhi. That's my suggestion. Hanji? And you should be able to very quickly. You speak Punjabi. It's just a matter of, some classes. Hanji. He was very loving and very accepting and very open. That's my experience with him. I sat with him. I had that privilege. Others have sat with him, some other English. He was very extremely accepting. Yeah, there was never any feeling that, he was very accepting, very warm, from what I can remember. It was a long time ago, but from what I remember, I stayed with him. I went up every day. I was staying at Guru Ramdas Nivas. He was at Guru Nanak Nivas on the rooftops. And I would go every day, and he was very open, very accepting, and very kind. It was my feeling. That's how I felt. There wasn't a lot of Caucasian Sikhs with me. Maybe one or two were with me. But that was my personal experience. Yeah. Hanji. Who knows, see? Now at 70, I'm a pretty mellow guy, right? Comparatively. But we never stopped. We just from the age of 30 to really up to the age of 60, those 30 years, I never stopped. Gee, we just by somehow Guruji gave, and because every day I woke up to do my sadhana every morning, right? Through thick and thin. If we were tired, we didn't sleep all night, we were busy in the factory, whatever it was, I still never sacrificed my morning practice. And that energy kept up. I mean, we were running businesses, we were doing Dharma, I was traveling the world, I was raising my son. It just was, we just never thought about stopping. I'd be in India and it would be like, like 9 a.m. in Toronto time, 10 a.m. I was dealing with customers from, from Amritsar, at that time. And, at that time in India, you could get Wi and you can get Fi, but you couldn't always get Wi-Fi, So it was hard, but we did it. And we produced the TV shows. And then, speaking in the Gurdwaras and doing Seva, we just never stopped 24/7. We just go, go, go. And that's the way my life has been. But somehow, I don't know. I don't know, G. I'm still with you. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not as young as I was, not a spring tofu, but, but that, because I think that's the spirit. Hanji, that's, I don't have to say in Punjabi the word, but I think that's the spirit that Guruji has put into my life, to give me that strength, right? Because when you take care of yourself, as I'm very conscious of taking care of myself, when Jagdeep doesn't buy me donuts, I'm very, Tim Horton, very conscious of, because I know the pace and the routine that I keep, right? But I don't like to stop, to this day, what, no program tonight? Come on, where are we staying home? No, let's, go out. So, we call that perpetual stamina. Perpetual means? Perpetual means never stops. Stamina means the strength. And Guruji gives perpetual stamina. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj had his soldiers run with the horses to give them that stamina, because it has to be perpetual. Perpetual means it can't stop. So what gives us that stamina is Simran. Taking care of ourselves physically, what we eat, being conscious of that. Anji? So the more conscious you are, you have Tim Hortons here, that place? It started in Canada. So one day, many years ago, tell you a quick story. I know we have to wrap up in a minute. But, this is when you talk about the two sides of the mind. So I was hungry that morning and I saw there was a Tim Hortons, that thing where you drive in through and you speak in that little thing. So here was my two mind. One mind said, yeah, go there, get one orange juice, get one bagel, just no butter, nothing, just plain, and go. But the other mind is saying, yeah, but wouldn't a French vanilla and like a donut, would that be nice? So, I'm very strong. No, it's going to be that juice and that, that bagel. So I pulled up that thing where you speak into, and I said, I'll have a coffee and a donut. So this is a true story, 100% true. So I drove up to that window they opened, and they gave me a bag, and I drove away and I opened the bag. What was in the bag? It was a bagel. So I said, oh my God, you can't even let me eat a donut, So that's why I say I don't believe in miracles. I rely on them, because I don't know how that bagel got in that bag. But this is how we set ourselves, right? And it's only that trust. And Guruji looks after us, Hanji. And it doesn't mean we're not robots. I make mistakes. I've made millions of mistakes in my life. But as I say, I've never left the feet of my Guru. One thing is, and I know as mums, when I say give yourself a little bit of time, you say, I don't have time to give myself. I'm giving to my husband, I'm giving my kids, I'm giving my work, if you have to, that's why we rise in the Amrit Vela, because that's the most quiet time, right? The kids are sleeping, the world hasn't woken up yet, or the city hasn't woken up yet. So you're not getting cars and sirens, this and that. And if you don't take a little time, and you have to learn to breathe, as saying, in that little video we saw, we don't breathe properly. Pavan Guru Pavan, Hanji, Pavan is the breath, right? What does it say in Guru Granth Sahib Ji? That we are prani. Doesn't it say? Pran, prana, prani. We're prani. What is a prani? Those who live by the breath. Hanji? But we don't live by our breath. We have shallow breathing. Well, I'm up to this and you didn't do anything, right? And the breathing becomes very shallow. So what's the saying? You have shallow breath, you have shallow life, right? We don't know how to breathe from the navel point. If the breath isn't coming deep, that's why I teach breathing, because you have to learn how to breathe much deeper, you know? We do every morning, I do 2.5 breath cycle, like simple like this. Ek, Omkar, Sat, Nam, Siddhi. Wa, Hey Guru. Just like that. I do every morning 7 minutes. It adjusts my navel point, balances my nervous system, opens up my lungs, and calms me down. 7 minutes. Sat minute? Not I'm telling you I have to do 2 hours something. No, very quickly. But we have to simulate this navel point. Breath of fire, breathe from here. So that gives you a much fuller, then you relax your shoulders. But you don't, right? You don't walk, you don't exercise, right? You don't move your body. The biggest cause of ailments that we have in our physical body is due to poor circulation. That's why we get sick, because our circulation is poor. We're not moving. And when the body isn't moving and the circulation is weak, you get sick. Body needs that circulation. I don't care what you want to do. Play tennis, go do go. I know something, whatever you want to do, but do something, you know? Otherwise, and then the mind gets very stiff and tight, and then you can't open up your thinking and you block it. And then you fight with each other. Why do we fight? Because we want to forget. I say, let's forget to fight. Right? Forget to fight. We fight because we want to forget things. Why not just forget to fight? What's the value? Because the law of communication is there's never just one communication. If you say one thing, it has to be another thing's going to be said. So watch what you say. Don't create a war with your words. We create wars with our words. Be conscious of how you speak. Right? Guru says there's 4 power siddhis that come to those who devote themselves to the feet of the Guru. Knowing the unknowing, seeing the unseen, hearing the unheard, and speaking the unspeakable. That's the Anahat that exists within us. We each can reach that. Guru says you can have all those siddhis, you can have all that and serve it to Sangat, help Sangat, develop it, but then bring it back to Sangat and serve. So what is it that we don't know? There's nothing unknown to us, only is the mind that says that. And then you create that block in your mind, and then you become negative, and then you become depressed, and then you become angry, and then that anger eats you up, and then you get resentful, and then you get mad, and then your life goes downhill. When Guru says life should be uphill. So you have to take that little bit of time for yourself. I know, no, I don't have time, no, because my kids, you know. Every excuse is a self-abuse, right? Give yourself that time. That's why Guru said Mamrit Vela, not because there's many scientific reasons, but really that's the only time you get any quiet, right? Take that time, 15 minutes a day. How long does it take to read Japji Saipad if you just start with that? And just start even with Japji Saipad. Takes what, 10 minutes, 12 minutes? And if you're slow reading, 20 minutes, whatever time you want to read, you know, because that vibration builds. You know, you put money in the bank and that money creates that interest, right? But it's the same thing through your devotion, spiritual devotion. Build your interest, build the interest, build the interest. And I see it simply. But that's what keeps me moving through it. Because if I don't start my day, and I do, but if I didn't start my day with the Simran and with Pot and everything, that day I don't want to get out of bed. I'm not going to take a risk. I can't risk getting out of bed if I don't do my morning. I won't take that risk. It's too risky. There's too much energy, too much things swirling all the time. How do I handle it? Because it's not me. So I said, how do you deal with so much? They said, what's your business? I said, my business is everybody's business. My business is your business, your business. That's my business. And what business are you in? Your business. So I said, what do you do in a day? I said, I wake up in the morning, I deal with people's problems. Then in the afternoon, I deal with people's super problems. And in the evening, I deal with the super, super duper problems. That's my day. You know, how do you take it? I said, because it's not me. It's Guru. That's my boss. That's who I'm working for. Guruji takes it. There's never stress on me personally. If I had to take it personal, I'd be sitting on the floor like those pancakes, right? But I know as Guruji is guiding it, so therefore, why can't I serve that? But that's why I exercise. That's why I do my simmer. That's my personal experience. I'm not saying I'm right, Nafkaniji, if I'm saying something wrong, but that's my personal, I'm sharing with you how I survived these years and growing. Anji. And remember what I say, and we're going to end now. And remember what I say, if I can do it, this little kid from downtown Toronto who knows nothing about anything can do it. Can you not do it who were born to it, given it, are blessed with it? Can you not do it 100 times better than me? That's my challenge. So I want you to write to me, to contact me, DM, is that what these guys say today? DMs? I don't know what that means exactly. Somebody told me once, right? And let me know how you're doing. I'm here to serve each and every one of you. You think, well, no, he doesn't know me. It's not true. You all are part of me. I'm all part of you. My life is to give that seva, to give that selflessness. Anji, yes? We're going back on the 18th, but we're here on Sunday. Anji, 7 p.m.? Anji, 7 to 7:45. We'll be here, so please come. Anji, this Gurdwara Sahib, in the Durbar. Anji. And then Saturday in Brixton, and I think if you go to you'll see the schedule on Facebook. I'm doing a workshop on, what's it called? Who has that? Divine, spiritual, something, I don't know, something of that nature. But that'd be a 2.5 hour workshop in Brixton. And you can go, maybe, I should have made a slide to put that up, but Guru Ramdas Project in Brixton. Anji? Serving the divine. Oh yeah. So that's going to be at that workshop, I'll be going very deeply into this whole science. Everything I teach is from the Guru Granth, even when we're teaching workshops, English people, Punjabi, whatever. Anji? So, but that'll be a very in-depth understanding of spirituality and spiritual essence. But it's all our teaching. There's so much more we could talk about. Remember I said 20 years, I didn't say a word. Next 20 years, you can't keep me quiet, you know. But Satsangaji, I'm so grateful. My heart is so open, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you. TK, good? You have lung or something? Anything else before we end? One last thing, anything urgent? Yes, G. Yeah. Well, it's very true. And, the thing is, you have to, if your mind shifts, don't allow that mind to get negative, and trust that Guruji says everything you need is going to be taken care of. When I was 60 years old, 10 years ago, I got this message as a voice I heard from Guru Sahib that said, give up everything. Don't run any businesses. Give up everything you have and only serve Sangha. Not that I wasn't serving Sangha before, but we were doing things, this and that. And I heard this message said, give up everything. Give up everything. I said, well, who's going to pay the mortgages? We got staff, Guru said, give up everything. So I had to change in my mind, because this was the Hukamnama I was hearing, to say, okay, Guruji's Hukamnama, how can I say no? Even though I had fear, right? Big fear, money, we survive on this money thing, right? So my consciousness, my mind had to change. And I said to myself, okay, Guruji, if you give me everything, I'm going to have nothing. And if you give me nothing, I'm going to have everything. And if you want me, I should just sit on that street corner. That's where I'm going to sit, as your wish is. And Guruji said, don't worry about anything. Sangha is going to take care of everything for you. And I had to go in myself and say, well, yeah, but who's, but, But I said, okay, Guruji, I'm your son. I serve you. And of course, in 10 years, Sangat looks after everything. So sometimes you just have to change it because maybe it's the frequency of it that's not right, that you shouldn't get that. Maybe you have to see a different angle that you take. So rather than getting into your brain, oh, these son of a gun, so-and-sos, you know, they're cheating me out of everything. Say, okay, Guruji, how should I, what is, you know, go to the feet of the Guru. Listen to that Hukamnama. Trust that Guruji is going to look after it. And then it opens doors. When we get stuck in that negative mind and everything is negative and, yeah, I don't want to get up and what's reading Japji going to do for me, you know, kind of mentality, you block your success. Whereas my understanding is always through my simmer through that I'm opening doors. We call portals. Those portals exist to give you what you need, but we block it, right? In reality, there's not one of us that should be poor. Not one of us should be depressed. Not one of us should have an addiction. Because Guruji is taking care of everything, but we don't trust it. And I know it's not easy. I fight it too. I fight it also. One day, years ago, we were in business and the phone wasn't, it was on the Christmas time, and the phone wasn't ringing, and I got very worried. And I said, the phone's not ringing, orders aren't coming in, we got staff to pay, we got inventories, we got machines. What are we going to do? The phone's not ringing. So that day I had a choice to take. I could have got very negative. Bless you, Guru. But instead, I went to the feet of the Guru. I said, Guruji, I'm going to take your Hukamnama. So that day, that Hukamnama was a very simple Hukamnama that said, don't worry. Everything you need is coming and everything is looked after. You don't have to worry. My mind's going, yeah, oh, yeah, you don't have to worry, you know, right? You know, every excuse. So I had to make a choice then. Okay, do I trust in that Hukamnama if Guruji says to me that everything's going to be okay? Or do I fight it, right? Well, Guruji, yeah, it's a Hukamnama, but, you know, I got to do, you know, and then the mind gets that. So that day I said, okay, Guruji says it's taken care of. So I said, what should I do? And this other voice said, just go for a walk. I said, go for a walk? Go for a walk. So I went for a walk that day and I just tried to relax. And I came back. And true story, the phone started ringing. As soon as I got back into that office, the phone started to ring. Orders came in, and I think it was about 8 or 9 years the phone didn't stop ringing. Only because Guruji created that space, that portal, right? I could have gone the other way and just really just, you know, forget that, right? And got into my negative mind and I'm not going to make enough money. I'm not going to support the family, blah, 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 blah. I said, Guruji is telling me don't worry. So why am I worrying? Then create the opportunity. Maybe that business formula that you're using isn't fitting what you should know. You have a very quick mind. You're very intelligent. Sometimes you're too intelligent, right? You overthink, right? Don't overthink it. Trust it. To me, that's the shift because as soon as the trust comes in, the door opens. When the negativity comes in, the door closes. Don't shut the doors. That's my suggestion. And I'm telling you these stories because I went through all that. Trust me, I went through all of that questioning. And sometimes we have to question. But remember, then I remembered something I said, Khalsa is not a question. Khalsa is a answer. And we have to learn to answer every question. If you ask me that question, well, I don't know, do what you want. You know, what is this? You know, I have to give you that answer. I said, okay, Guruji, how should I answer this man? He looks very intelligent. He has a very strong mind. He should be extremely successful in everything. Don't block it. Shift happens, doesn't it? Shift happens in my life. Go with the shift. And if we don't learn to shift, we're going to get stuck. Okay, good. Last call. Does it make sense to you? Anything you understand? That's why I say you have to learn to relax. If we're tense and uptight and body is uptight and everything is tense and nervous system, glandular system, right? Pituitary gland, they call this third eye. Pituitary gland is the master gland. This master gland and the glandular system is the guardians of our health. Now, how many are here sitting here today say, I get sick all the time, I get sick all the time. You phone a friend, I'm sick, and say that person's always sick. glandular system, nervous system, respiratory system, digestive system. How many have digestive problems? Too much merch, you know, strong, right? But we're not conscious of that. We're not conscious of this glandular system that we have. We're not conscious of these different body systems, the nerve system. And I studied all of that and learned all of that because I wanted to understand it. And this technology is taught in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Everything is taught. Okay, Andy, good. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you to Bhai Sub for coming all the way from Canada, but Southall actually, for coming, taking his time out. Yeah, close enough. Southall is far from Canada. That's one thing we definitely know.
Consciousness, we're all together.
Abs-
No matter what, we have no geography.
Absolutely, I love the positive energy and it brings some positivity to Slough as well. We absolutely love that. Just thank you to Bhai Sub. We really appreciate them coming, and they'll be here again on Sunday from 7 to 7:45. The intention is with the Guru's Kirpa, we start a monthly forum. So every month we'll have an event, probably in this hall. We'll invite by other speakers and documentaries and stuff. So please do keep coming. I just wanted to just summarize two things from Bhai Sab's talk, which I personally will take away. I think 17 years on this path, so not exactly half of Bhai Sab's journey, but just to take something away from that talk is if we're not doing our Japji Sahib in the morning, Bhai Sab emphasized the importance of a routine of waking up every day through thick and good and bad, easy and hard times, waking up and still making an effort to do your Japji Sahib. That's the starting point. And just taking a couple of things away is, do something, do exercise, be it yoga, football, gym, whatever it is be active. And that's an important message for all of us, not just me, Bhai Sab, or anyone else. It's an important message for all of us. So thank you, Bhai Sab. We'll do Jakarta for Bhai Sab, and then we'll call it a day. Please do help with the chairs. I think there's about 80 samosa to finish as well, so please, Shako.
We depend upon your support. So any financial support you can help with is greatly appreciated because, as I say, you can donate while I'm here. You can do PayPal. I didn't put it up here, but um, we can send you the link for the PayPal if you want. You can direct message me or what have you. So whatever support you can give, it's always appreciated. Hanji? And I'm here on Sunday, so if you me personally. I do personal counseling as well. I don't know if we have time while I'm here, but next time I come, they want me to stay even longer because I haven't. The last time I was here was 2018, and then COVID hit, and this is the first time back since 2018. I was coming every year up until that point. Then the past few years we stopped coming because of the COVID stuff, but now we're back again. Okay, like also.